I need to tell you all something. As I post science stuff, sometimes I look at the comments and I am surprised. Comments like these. A specific comment that I see often is one like this, publicly implying that he is not respected anymore. In my opinion, based on how many times I see that type of comment, mixed with how many times the comments have oddly high amounts of interactions, these are probably bots and someone is trying to negatively impact space influencers. Maybe people like this.
Why is it that there are science popularizers? Like, we don't have like UFC popularizers.
We do have UFC popularizers. He is literally saying this on the Joe Rogan podcast, who is a UFC popularizer, which is really ironic. This is the title of his video. His title already tells us he does not fully trust space influencers. Let me tell you this, I trust the people who are actively trying to teach us about science and intelligence a lot more than someone who doesn't understand them. Let me also explain this. This guy has a PhD. And he has students. He is not just a hater. I think this is deeper than that. He explains that mainstream science influencers like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Brian Cox should not have time to communicate science and be an effective scientist at the same time, seemingly implying that they are somehow science posers or phonies. This is actually a popular reason behind mainstream space influencer negative feedback that I've noticed.
Text. What Neil deGrasse Tyson, it's not that important. What he's doing, he can't do real. This is the route. I'm not saying I believe this, but
this part was where I knew this ran deep. This guy just blurted, quote, "This isn't real. I'm not saying I believe this," end quote, as he says negative condescending things towards Neil.
This is the rap. You know, he is not a real scientist. And he won't say he's not doing research, he doesn't have students. But
Neil deGrasse Tyson has a PhD in astrophysics and 9 honorary doctorates. It does not take a genius to understand that someone who gets a PhD doesn't have to become a teacher classically in order to spread information, which is clearly what Neil chose to do, similar to this hater.
He's not really a scientist the way that I, Brian Keating, am a scientist, because he's not actively in the trenches. Because if he were,
I guess you have to be actively in the trenches, or in his meaning, teaching students, to even mention the word science over social media. Or else you might be uncredited and blasphemous. I'm assuming he must carry out plenty of profound lab experiments then. I'm also assuming he adds exponential value to our scientific models, which should surely drive us to our next technological revolution.
He wouldn't have time to go out. That's BS. I'm sorry, that's BS.
Well, based on his reasonings, I'm assuming he believes he is more intelligent and up-to-date scientifically than Neil. I'm also assuming this may be the reason he doesn't trust influencers, simply because he might know more than them. You can tell that Joe Rogan thought it was interesting and had this to say.
Well, don't you think that the reason why you have so many science influencers or science educators is because science is way more complicated than all those other things?
I don't know, is it?
Yeah. Of course it is.
Joe probably knows that this shouldn't even be an issue or statement because it's obvious that we need influence, or popularizers, in order to make the world go around. Especially science influencers, since science is what advances society. It's safe to say by now he doesn't really like the fact that Neil spreads information about science. You can even see a similar hater reply that clearly appears to be a botted comment say that Neil has lost a lot of respect, and the comment was liked by the video publisher. I would say that the reason these comments litter my comment section, his comment section and many others out there, are to tarnish the reputations of popularized influencers like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox. It is obvious that the comments are there to persuade viewers into actually thinking that popular space influencers like Neil and Brian are not relevant or respected within the science community. By him liking the comment, that should only help persuade individuals. In my opinion, this behavior is disturbing to see. It appears that either he and others don't understand that people like Neil want to spark curiosity in the minds of others, or he and others understand it and somehow are angered by it. No matter what, I want everyone to understand this. A large reason why someone wants to popularize something is because they want others to experience it and live by it. Just like how Neil used media to promote science. Just like how the hater teaches his students. Just like how I am educating you on this important issue across science media. We just want others to learn a perspective that we have. I specifically want you to learn from me. Never be like that guy or like those comments. I had to make this urgent video to explain to you all. There is a wise saying which still holds true to me. There are no stupid questions, but quote, why is there science popularizers, unquote, is really close to a stupid question. However, what came from his questioning birthed this great video which defends our science popularizers. Not that these people need much defense, but the first impression by new viewers is important, and negative comments like the ones mentioned, plus people actively speaking against science popularizers can maybe harm a potential future scientist or genius. That is where, as a communicator of science as well, I'm going to explain to you all that people like Neil deGrasse Tyson have not lost my respect and most likely won't. I'm also going to mention, Neil and the hater understand that our theory and scientific models are somewhat not that advanced and we need more geniuses, so it's already not smart to argue about who is most intelligent or credible rather than just working together and figuring out how to explore the universe faster considering the lifespans of us humans. If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty, we still burn oils for energy. We don't know what the universe truly is yet. Our most advanced math fails at certain realistic points, which leads many scientists to conclude time waste and alternative theories.
I mean, the trouble is that they claim it's such a beautiful theory. As far as I can see, it's a great mess. I mean, you've got the wrong number of space dimensions. You've got an argument to try and argue that you don't get enough energy to excite the extra dimension. And I think that argument is wrong, actually. I think there's just a misconception in that. I don't want to go into it further, but it's a bit technical, but I think it's a misconception. And in a certain sense, there are too many theoretical physics communities which have wasted their time on this area rather than doing what I regard as more interesting topics. Even the question of quantum gravity, which has been brought up here, bringing quantum mechanics and gravitational theory together, sure, that's a very important thing to do. But quantizing gravity, in my view, okay, it's an interesting exercise.
There should be no reality where a science YouTube influencer, who is also a science teacher with certifications, should be acting as if mainstream science popularizers are inferior and shouldn't be respected. Mainly because there is other things someone with that intelligence could be doing, like popularizing it themselves or researching for the betterment of mankind. The hater mentioned that scientists shouldn't be able to communicate and be in the trenches at the same time. I want to say, you can do anything you put your mind to as long as it probably follows the fundamental laws of physics. Based on how the hater handles regular information, how accurate do you think it is for him to say that you can't communicate and research science effectively at the same time? Understand that science is complicated, however, but all it really takes is brain power and money. The human race still needs plenty of new discoveries to be determined, and you probably aren't going to establish many of them by attacking other people's lifestyles. Next time you see rude or negative comments about these science popularizers, take a look at the commenters and notice things that look off. They are most likely botted comments meant to target thinkers like you, keeping you from experiencing what these teachers have to say. And if it's not a bot, it's likely someone like the hater, who, as you can clearly see, might not be the best person to sit down and figure out the universe with.